What's going on, everybody? This is your boy Mike from Trouble Down Productions and NerdFeed.com. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the No Way Out story arc, which is volume 14 of the Walking Dead comic series, and I'm going to be talking about how they may play a lot of that into the show. So check it out. So this is going to be some comic spoilers if you have not read the comics. Now, if you choose that you want to read the comics and you don't hear what this is going to be about, then you might want to shut it off now. But if you just don't care, then there's going to be some good info for you. In the comic series, No Way Out is a story arc to where a shit ton of walkers come through Alexandria. They end up busting down the walls because there's just so many of them pushing on them. Now, they played that different in the show to where they just knocked the tower down and the tower knocked the wall down. But in the comic series, there was just a field of them, and they just bum rushed the wall and knocked the wall down. In the comic series, they played this a little differently because this was the first time in the comic series that they actually got attacked by that many walkers at home base. They did it in the show a little earlier with Herschel's Farm in season 2, but in the comic series, this was the first time that something like this has happened at home base. So it was a pretty wild. Through this whole deal, we see a lot of character deaths. We see a Morgan death, which could be they could be doing that in the TV show, although I think they're going a completely different direction with Morgan in the show. I don't think he's gonna die in No Way Out or season 6, maybe at the end of season 6. Tobin and Holly are in this back of this truck. The wall comes down on the back of the truck. Tobin tells Holly to run and get Rick. She goes, runs and gets Rick. By the time Rick gets back, Tobin is already like just devoured, and Rick starts fighting through walkers. Morgan comes to help him. Morgan gets overrun. Without a beat, Michonne whacks Morgan's arm off, and they eventually carry him to the infirmary. We also see the death of Douglas Monroe, who was the leader of the community before Rick and them got there. Now, as we well know in the TV show, they replaced Douglas with Deanna. Also in the comic series, this is where Rick and Jesse had their little thing when they decided to all bunk up in certain houses. At this point, you know, they were all kind of scared, so they all kind of went to live with each other. Morgan went to live with Michonne. Rick came and stayed with Jesse and them. So this is where Rick and Jesse got their little thing going that didn't last long. At the end of episode 8, when we seen all of them coming out with walker guts, holding hands, trying to walk through the walkers, we seen that exact same thing in the No Way Out story arc in the comics. They all came out, was walking. Ron was more Sam's age in the comics, and there was no Sam. So they were all holding hands, walking out when Sam starts hollering and ends up getting devoured by walkers. Jesse is holding on to him, won't let go. She falls into walkers. She's holding Carl's hand. Rick comes up and chops her arm off, and she just gets ate by the walkers, and Rick and Carl just go off. But I think that in the show it's going to be a little different, but I think for the most part it's going to be the same. I do believe that Jesse and Sam are both going to get ate up by walkers exactly the same way. I think Rick is going to cut her arm off. I think we're going to see that whole little scene exactly like there was in the comics. The only wild card is Ron. Now, the big question is what will we see with Ron? And I will be doing another video on that here shortly. Now, you got people killing walkers everywhere, bullets flying everywhere, and the biggest, I think, shocker of the whole arc in the comic series is this very last piece where Rick turns around and asks Carl if he's okay, and Carl looks at him, and it's just this. And I mean, the artwork, the shock within this timeline, you know what I mean? When this first came out, people were just going crazy over it. I mean, and I do think we're gonna see that in the show, because months ago I put out a video with images of, you see Carl with his eye wrapped up and stuff, and it was right as they came back from their little break that they had when they came back to actually start filming the second half of the season. So from what we've seen at that point, I'm sure that's exactly what's going to happen. In episode 9, when it opens up, we're going to see that whole part with them walking out of the house. We're going to see that play out very close to No Way Out. The part in the show where you seen Spencer shimmying over that rope, that also happened in the No Way Out story arc, but it was Heath, Glenn, and Spencer, all three of them. Heath and Glenn got across, and Spencer, the rope snapped, and he went down, hit the wall, and then they were both trying to, Glenn and Heath were both trying to pull him up, and Andrea comes and helps them pull Spencer up. Now, if you're still wondering what caused that kind of herd to just bring themselves to Alexandria, it was the story arc prior where they had gotten to a gun battle with the Scavengers, which is who I was predicting was the Wolves. We see Douglas about to kill himself, but then he went out guns blazing, just shooting recklessly at walkers, which is pretty much what Deanna did in the show. So I like kind of how they tied that together. And then just in case you didn't catch that, when Douglas went down shooting wild, one of his bullets is the one that hit Carl in the eye and went out his temple. I will be doing another video on the Hilltop, which I do believe that we will be seeing in the back half of season 6. And for all people who don't read the comic, you can check that out as well if you want to know what we're getting ready to get into as far as that goes. If you are reading the comic series by single issues, No Way Out is 79 through 84. And right at the end there, we see someone looking at the Alexandria community through a set of binoculars, and we find out later on that it's Paul Jesus Monroe, and I do believe we are going to see that scene in episode 9 at the very end of it, because I think by episode 10, that's when we're going to actually see Jesus in a TV series. I want to throw that prediction out right now. Episode 10, we see Jesus. Like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you have not checked out my review for The Walking Dead Season 6, Episode 8, you can check it out right there. Click on that. I'll also shoot a link up there if you're on mobile. Now, keep in mind, when I shoot these links up there, when it comes across the top, you actually have to be into the YouTube app to see that. Now, if you're viewing it on Facebook, it's likely you're probably not going to see that pop up there. So you actually have to be on your YouTube app to be able to see those. But I love you guys. Nerdfeed.com, Dead to Zombies. You guys rock. Here we come. It's the Day of the Dead.